I don't want to lose my height. I just want to turn. And that grip will point out to that line a little bit. It's that right hip that's pushing into my left hip to get it to go forward. This just turns here, like Sam Snead said, it just turns right back in there.
Yeah.
And that's what kept the anchor point to the swing. What happens when I do that, now I really load into that right leg.
Yeah.
And that You know, one of the things that Mark does very well that I really like about his setup, look at the way that his outside of his right hip aligns with the inside of his right foot.
Yeah.
That creates more of that brace right there, okay?
Yeah.
Now you can see his lead leg is more posted up, more straight up and down. And really, to be perfectly exact, the way that I like to make sure people understand this, okay? Keeping the hips square, keeping the sternum still. When the hips shift forward there, I'm keeping them square. Now, the reason why a lot of times I've explained in videos before, like the right hip goes back a little bit, it's that right hip that's pushing into my left hip to get it to go forward. And the reason I say that is most people will do this when they bump their hips forward.
Mm-hmm.
We want to keep them square and be in a place that actually initiates your turn, not negates it, right? I want to see that right hip outside of it to the inside of the right foot. That creates the brace. Now that femur on that lead leg is right on the inside of this foot, and the outside of my hip is right on the middle of this foot, okay? So really from a neutral position with the right width of stance, boom, it's about an inch. And that puts you in this position. It's very minimal. But what it does, it keeps that sternum into place and gives you a spine angle, a secondary tilt, that really helps the golfer turn behind the golf ball over the inside of their right foot without having to make a big move off the golf ball in order to do that, okay? So let's look at how we turn. And you can see, like, I mean, look at your hip, right? It's on the kind of the outside over there, and there's no angle set.
Yeah.
You know, our upper body's kind of really stacked on top of the golf ball.
Yeah.
You know, unlike Mark, who had the spine behind the golf ball, you know, when you look at this to start with, I think this is very important. You know, you look at where his spine is relative to the golf ball and look at where yours is, right?
Yeah.
A lot of that's a forward press, too.
Yeah.
But we just got to shape our turn better, and, you know, look at that. You're just,
oh, yeah.
And you can see.
My God. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. You know, one of the things I do with a lot of players on this range, and it worked out great in our complete game clinic. It's awesome. We get people lined up, and we have everybody, you know, just get right here.
Yep.
Club out here. Okay. Keep that sternum still. Shift. Now what's nice is they can sit there and they can drop that club from the outside of their pocket here, of that trail hip. And what do they see? That club aligns with that black line.
Yep.
Now from there, I like to stick the grip out this way, hold it here. I don't want to lose my height. I just want to turn. And that grip will point out to that line. Now here's the thing. It's not down to the line or down to the ball. I have a T-spine here. My spine is here. My shoulder plane is here. So here's my spine angle. Here's my shoulder plane. My shoulders should be pointing on that line. So when you watch me, watch. There it is. It's not down to the ball. That's a mistake that a lot of people make, right? So when you watch this, I'm not going straight down here. The club is matching up with that, but I'm still maintaining my posture, and I think that's important. So let's just get the setup first. Get your right hip on the right foot there. We can align this right here. And that's perfect, though.
Okay.
And what's great is first thing I check for, look, I'm going to bring this right up here. See, your hips are nice and square. Okay. So it's not like you've done anything wrong there.
Okay.
Okay, now put the club across your chest. Awesome. So there's that little bump. And I love grabbing it like this. Ready? We're going to keep that head nice and still. You hold on to it, and we're going to go right around. I mean, there it is right there, guys. You know, you get that turn right there. Even Kevin's got the big smile on his face right now. He's like, yeah. Now listen, let's have like a little X factor to this. When done correctly, watch this. I bump, and I maintain that brace, and I do not let that buckle at all.
Yep.
Like if there's a wall here, I'm not bumping into this at all.
Yep.
I keep my knee flexed, and I keep my knee inside that foot. And what happens when I do that, now I really load into that right leg, and that's where I can feel like I can push off really aggressively around the post.
So the left hip, I shouldn't see
Any
this,
drop.
right?
Yep, exactly. By the way,
this.
you know, so Bo Hostler, I worked with him from, you know, like end of 16 years old all the way to about 23. great player, you know, really incredible amateur golfer. And, you know, one thing we did a lot, we used to talk about keeping his left hip high.
Yeah.
Now, height with that hip only comes from that right cheek turning back into the left. If you watch this, this just turns here like Sam Snead said. It just turns right back in there.
Yeah.
And that's what kept the anchor point to the swing. Another thing misunderstood. From the face-on view, if the left hip dropped from the face-on view like this, we reverse pivot.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not what happens. This hip actually stays up, and that allows you to maintain your spine angle from this view. From this angle, yeah, my belt is on this axis right here. I'm on this plane right here, that's a better word to say. And so guess what? From this angle, yeah, this one looks higher from that view, not from this view right here. Okay,
yeah.
But yeah, it's important to understand that. That's a function of the right knee staying inside the right foot.
Okay.
Last thing I'm going to say, when I turn, I only turn from my right pocket and my right shoulder, not my right knee. See that?
Yeah.
That's how you maintain that pressure. Do it again. Watch, hop in there again. Keep that right knee inside that right foot. Keep it flexed and get the club across your chest again and turn right into that right leg. You feel that?
Yeah.
You should feel some serious pressure in here.
I do.
Yeah. He's in a position to make that nice turn around those fixed points right to the top. And if I erase this and you look at where his chest is, right over the outside of his right hip, right over the inside of his foot.
Yeah.
That's where all that pressure loads right there. Okay.
Is he, when he's set up, is there pressure on the inside of his foot
Big
then?
time, yeah. And what's funny is as the clubs get increasingly longer, I actually feel the majority of the pressure actually on the inside of my right foot. Okay, so when I set up at first, okay, and think about it like this, a narrower stance. And let's go through the setup in general. A wedge, outsides of feet to the outsides of your shoulders. Well, now when I bump that hip, that's a little more significant. I'm putting much more pressure on the lead foot. Yeah, I feel it on the inside of this foot, much like I have door stops outside the right foot right there. But I definitely feel more on the lead foot, and I'm about 70% over there in my feel. That's my feel. Now, ready? I get a little bit wider, and I take now the middle of my feet to the outsides of my shoulders, which is where an iron approximately is, right? Now, I bump my hips now. Yeah, I feel about 60% over here, maybe 55, and 45 to 40 on the inside of my right foot. Now, here's the thing. As I get longer with the clubs, especially getting into the woods, I now have the insides of my foot to the outsides of my shoulders, and when I make that same hip bump, my upper body is actually being supported more by the inside of my right leg, which is putting more pressure on the inside of my right foot to where I personally feel 55 to 60% right here as opposed to there. And I think this is very important. People get the driver out, they hear hip bump, and then they end up stacking too much weight forward. It's like throwing a punch. I'm not gonna stand over here and then throw it. I'm gonna be more here so I can push off and then throw it around the left side there. So really important to understand width of stance, ball position, wedges, woods, everything crawls right up in front. Every clinic we teach, we start off with this talk about basics of width of stance and ball position. That helps your trajectory. The narrower you get, the lower the ball goes. So those very lofted clubs, you can trap them and hit it a little bit lower and hit down on it with a more V-shaped swing simply because of the width of stance. The less loft on the club driver. Well, now we move that ball up to the front of our stance to left shoulder here. Well, now it's farther ahead of the top of the center of my body or the top of the pendulum. It'll actually naturally swing up more. My stance is wider, a more U-shaped swing. So I have two things that are helping me hit up on the ball without actually having to hit up on the ball. My setup is doing that for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so at Forzak Golf, we take a lot of pride in having developed some of the best and most consistent golf swings on the planet. We do this through simplicity. Our Full Swing Masterclass will take you on a step-by-step, easy-to-understand process on how to get your golf swing better than ever. Join the many before you who've utilized our Full Swing Masterclass to take their games to the next level and beyond.